Well, hey, happy Easter Sunday morning to everybody. He is risen,
He's risen indeed.
and we really thought maybe we'd get together and do a devotional together for this morning, being it's just such a special occasion, such a great deal, and so you're getting us both this morning, but we're only going to charge you for one. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to be in John chapter 20 today, and this is going to be the empty tomb story.
Yeah. So we're going to start in verse 1. It says, "Early on Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and found that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance. She ran and found Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved. She said, 'They have taken the Lord's body out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him.' Peter and the other disciple started out for the tomb. They were both running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first." I'm going to stop right there because I think that's important, that you can tell a guy who wrote that story, because that's important to us guys who ran faster in a foot race. I mean, if Jake and I were here, I would be sure to mention that I outran Jake to the tomb.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the details.
So anyway, he stooped and looked in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he didn't go in. Then Simon Peter, get the right page here, arrived and went inside. He also noticed the linen wrappings lying there. Well, the cloth that had covered Jesus' head was folded up and lying apart from the other wrappings. Then the disciple who had reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For until then they still hadn't understood the scriptures that said Jesus must rise from the dead. Then they went home. Mary was standing outside the tomb crying, and as she wept, she stooped and looked in. She saw two white-robed angels, one sitting at the head and the other at the foot of the place where the body of Jesus had been lying. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" the angels asked her. "Because they have taken away my Lord," she replied, "and I don't know where they had put him." She turned to leave and saw someone standing there. It was Jesus, but she didn't recognize him. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" Jesus asked her. "Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the gardener. "Sir," she said, "if you had taken him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go and get him." "Mary," Jesus said. She turned to him and cried out, "Rabboni," which is Hebrew for teacher. "Don't cling to me," Jesus said, "for I haven't yet ascended to the Father. But go and find my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene found the disciples and told them, "I have seen the Lord." And then she gave them his message. So I just think that's kind of neat how he appeared to Mary, where she didn't recognize him until he said her name. And I feel like that's kind of how we feel Jesus calling to us today. Is it's just we don't recognize his face. If he was here, he could take on so many forms. And there's a lot of accounts that say he has from people near-death experiences and stuff. But as soon as he called her by name, she instantly recognized him. And if we're that close to Jesus, searching for him that hard, I think we will recognize his voice when he does call to us.
Yeah, if it's ever been, if you've ever been out in a big public place or something like that, and you hear somebody call your name, a family member or a parent or somebody, and you know that voice, you know that is them, even before you turn around and see them, you know who it is, and but you got to be close in order to recognize them like that. And so, like Jared said, if we are searching for Jesus that close, if we're following him that closely, we'll know when he calls us.
Yeah, if you're a parent of a newborn kid and you're around a bunch of people with new kids, you know when there's a cry, if that's your kid or if that's someone else's kid. And that just comes from being really close and spending a lot of time with somebody. If you haven't spent much time, I doubt someone saying your name is going to be that whole much different, because sometimes I hear people say Jerry and I look up and look around thinking they're talking to me, but no, it's just a Jerry.
Yeah, right. So, the most amazing thing about all this, from my point of view anyway, is this is the entire reason Christianity works, right? Because when they got to the tomb that morning, Jesus was gone. That is why this works. He has beaten death at this point. The tomb is empty. He is no longer there. That is the most important thing to me about this faith journey that I am on, and what it takes for me to understand how impactful this is. If they would have got there and Jesus was still in the tomb, none of this really works. But he wasn't. He was gone, just like was prophesied that he would be. And so now it's the next step. It's the next step in that process.
And Christianity is the only religion that worships someone who's still alive. Everyone else, there's a tomb where all their saviors have laid. And yeah, there's a tomb for Jesus, but he's not there.
Yeah, he's not in it. So, yeah, that's why this whole thing works.
Oh yeah, love Easter.
Yeah. All right. You got some more thoughts on that?
No, I think that take care of both of them.
All right, we're going to jump down to 24 now, and we're going to be talking about Thomas. And we're still in John chapter 20. Verse 24, it says, "But Thomas, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples were telling him, 'We've seen the Lord.' But he said to them, 'If I don't see the mark of the nails in his hands, put my finger into the mark of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will never believe.' A week later, his disciples were indoors again, and Thomas was with them. Even though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, 'Peace be with you.' Then he said to Thomas, 'Put your finger here and look at my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Don't be faithless, but believe.' Thomas responded to him, 'My Lord and my God.' Jesus said, 'Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe.'" You know, that's kind of a tough one for me because I am one of those see it to believe it type of people. You got to prove it to me, right? It's not that I'm really skeptical, but it's just I got to see that proof. And so this particular part of that chapter in John really kind of hits, right? On one hand, I can't blame Thomas for feeling that way. He just wants to be sure. Think about the most crazy thing that has ever happened to you or you've ever even heard happening, and you told somebody later, like, "Man, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have believed it." Jesus, they were following this guy around. He was crucified. They saw that. He was laid to rest in this tomb. Now he's missing. And Thomas is going, "Look, I just can't buy that he's resurrected. I just don't know. If I could see him put my hand into those holes, then I would know for sure." Well, Jesus showed up. He was able to do that. He did do it. I don't really feel like he was being reprimanded for being that way. But Jesus's comment of "Blessed are those who believe without seeing." So it's like $1,000 bill, right? They exist, but I've never seen one, but they still exist. I think the reason this is important, I have not had the opportunity to physically see Jesus in person, standing here in my shop. He is not physically here, but I still believe that he exists. I still believe that he is my Savior. I believe that he was crucified. I believe that he has been resurrected, and I have to believe that until the day that I get to go meet him in person. And so I think that's the point that Jesus was making was, if you're at the point where you have to see me and physically put your hand in my side to believe it, that's going to be problematic for a lot of people for a while because they're not going to have a chance to see him.
Yeah. Now, think of it along those lines too. Think of all the people who did see his miracles, and the Pharisees were firsthand witnesses to a lot of his miracles. Yet they were like, "Well, show us a sign you're Messiah." So seeing isn't always believing. There are some people you just cannot give enough proof to be around. And I also have heard someone say that's why Jesus' ministry was so short. He could have stuck around long enough to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was the Messiah. But I don't know if that would have meant people would follow him with their heart. That would just have proved something. So having that element of faith, it requires effort on our part. You know, if Jesus just laid it out beyond a proof of a doubt, then you could just say that without having any effort to search in the scriptures to really know him. And like I said earlier in the passage, know him when he calls your voice. And I don't blame Thomas either. Part of me wonders this isn't a defense mechanism a little bit. If anyone's lost someone close to him and someone came back and like, "No, they're back here," a week later, you're like, "Nah, I can't go through this loss again. Don't toy with my emotions. I have just gone through a super hard time." If you say they come back, "I get my hopes up," and you're wrong, you're just putting me through that all over again. So maybe that's why Jesus had a little bit of compassion on Thomas, is knowing like maybe he just didn't want to go through the heartache of losing Jesus all over again.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. You know, there's a lot of places in the Bible where it talks about, makes references to seed and plants growing and,
Yep.
you know, different things like that happening. And Jared and I are both involved in agriculture. You know, and I think of that, you know, we go out and plant in the spring, and we have faith that we put the seed in the ground, we get the right amount of water on it, we got the right amount of heat to it, we get a little fertilizer, and we're going to grow a crop of some sort, whether it's corn, beans, hay, you know, whatever it is. But we have that faith that it's going to happen, and we know that from past experience.
Yeah.
If you've got the past experience of walking with Jesus, then you know by faith that this happened, that he is going to return again someday like he says he is, and we're going to get a chance to physically walk with him in person. But until that day, we've got to have the faith that it's going to happen like he says.
Absolutely. So, yeah, any more thoughts?
I think that's about it, huh?
Boy, we hope you all have a very blessed Easter.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for going on this journey to the cross with us. You know, if you have any ideas for something we can do in the future, we sort of like doing, you know, this sort of thing.
It's a neat series. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's kind of leading up to the Easter season.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed it. Thank you for going along with us. Everybody have a happy Easter. It's Sunday. He is risen. Man, life is looking good.
Go celebrate it.
Go celebrate. We'll see you back here next time. Bye.